Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm reacting to something non-basketball related for some change here. I'm looking into typical European things other countries find weird. I have heard of this and I'm very interested in that because I'm European, so maybe I do those things, and yeah, let's see.
Today we'll be flipping a recent show called American Things Europeans Find Weird,
Okay,
a clip
I
that
have to
didn't
get
sit well
to
with
that
some of
too.
our viewers. We should first provide the disclaimer that these kinds of shows focus on either stereotypes or behavior
Of
that
course,
might be
yeah.
common, but certainly not traits belonging to everyone of a
Makes
certain
sense, yes.
country or continent. Not all Englishmen are habitual tea drinkers, and not all French folks have a penchant for reciting romantic poetry. And
Oh,
no,
I
a
thought
good deal of
that-
Americans don't take their beloved Smith & Wesson to the shopping mall. We also understand that Europe is a
Obviously,
very
yes.
diverse place with countless cultures, but what we'll attempt to do today is present traits, habits, or actions that happen in Europe and are perhaps common that
okay.
could be construed as strange to visitors.
So,
With that said,
common
welcome to
things
this episode of the
people
Infographic
and
Show,
other
European
people
Things
find
Other
weird.
Countries Find Weird.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button so that you can be part of our notification squad. We'll start with food. Now, depending on where you come from in Europe, eating habits change dramatically. If you visit places such as France, Italy, or Spain,
Yeah.
you might find that food is much more than sustenance, and meal
It's
times are
family
quite
time,
a
yes.
cultivated matter. In Italy, you could expect to take a 2-hour lunch,
Yes.
sometimes with wine, on a
Wine.
workday. Food
That's why the Italians are perceived as lazy, but it's not true. They just like have a long lunch, but they work longer, so they don't finish like at 5, but they take a 2 hour lunch, so they finish at like 6, 7 probably. So it's not lazy, it's just different feeling, and I mean they have a very relaxed lifestyle as far as I know. I have been to Italy a few times, and yes, it first looks lazy, but they just have fun and enjoy the food. We all should do that more.
Food matters. In France or Spain, dinner might last all night, and again, wine is often there at the table. Dinner is often sacrosanct, and it's a
Yes,
time for
it is.
sharing and talking, and often many courses are
Exactly.
served. For most visitors to these countries, if they end up being invited to a family dinner, they
This
will
takes
often
long
be
time.
pleasantly surprised by the sheer volume of treats and also the wonderful conviviality. You may also find that once you have made the acquaintance of some Europeans, they can be quite
level
tactile,
things,
and for
yeah.
some people, get a little too close. While in
We tactile, you mean we are touching you? Well, we he's probably referring to hugging. We like to hug people. We know when we meet them, like, hello, how are you? Kissing on the cheeks, hugging. So that's pretty normal.
In some
didn't know
southern
that this
European
is
cultures, you might
normal.
find men, just friends, holding hands as they
Yes,
walk down the
I know.
street.
They
It's not
do that.
uncommon in Italy, Portugal, France, or Russia for men to cheek kiss as a sign of
Yes,
friendship.
of
You
course.
might have to be very close to that person, but once you've established a close bond, this is something you may have to get used to. After
Personally, I have a very long friend. We are friends for 24 years now, and I don't see him often, but when I see him, I hug him. We don't kiss like on the cheeks or something, but like if we meet, we are hugging for like half a minute or so, and they're like, yeah, how are you, blah blah. So it's like something you just want to tell the person that you are holding him dear in your heart, and that's why you are hugging him. It's pretty normal here. So yeah.
visiting France, you could
Sorry
be in
for
England an hour
pausing.
later and try to kiss a
Sorry.
man on his cheek there, and he may take offense.
Yeah, of
One
course,
thing
the
people
British-
might find peculiar about the English is their orderliness and sometimes utilitarian nature. In England, compared to the continent, people can be quite serious about things. This could be how much emphasis they put on an orderly queue, or even how much they espouse not making a fuss. Some people call this the stiff upper lip, meaning someone shows great restraint. You'll find people
The
don't
Brits-
complain much in restaurants, or even are quite nice
I
to
have
someone
heard
who they
Brits
hate,
complain,
if not
so
pushed to the
this is
extreme.
not
But the English are also renowned for their propriety in times of adversity, much the reason why Rudyard Kipling once wrote, "Only mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun."
Yeah.
He was referring to English people dressing up in the hot tropics during the time of the
That's
empire,
true,
anything
yes.
to keep up appearances. We will now move over to the Netherlands, a country that has surprised many visitors time and again. One of the most shocking things to people is Amsterdam, first with its rather open and diverse red light
haven't been
district,
there.
but perhaps more so because there are cafes you can go in and
But
choose
I
from quite a lengthy
to
menu
see
of
this
marijuana.
city because
In most countries, you might find drugs and prostitution in rundown
amazing.
parts of
I
town,
have
but in
heard
Amsterdam
the
these days,
culture and
it is quite safe and also picturesque. Another thing you might find strange in the
sightseeing
Netherlands is the
locations.
amount of bicycles and how they crazily zip about.
That is true. I have worked for a Dutch company and I visited the headquarters in the Netherlands and there were so many bikes. Just amazing. I mean, okay, it's easy there. They are like really flat. They don't have hills, so it's very easy to bike because you just go in straight lines and never have to go up a hill or something. Try this here in my home country. We have lots of hills and mountains, so like, yes, we have bikes, and in big cities we drive with bikes, but they also go everywhere with their bikes, also in small towns and stuff, so it's amazing. And their water canals are really amazing too. Shout out to all the Dutch people.
The Dutch respect their
Yeah,
bikes,
great.
and drivers must respect them too. In the Netherlands, there's even a special way to open a car door, so there is no way you
Yes,
will open
I
it
have
on someone passing
heard
by on a
of this.
bicycle. This involves opening the door with the hand furthest away from the handle. Kudos to the Dutch for coming up with that. Some people call it the Dutch reach, and it's a lifesaver. If you are going to spend a significant amount of time in Europe, you might come across the most passionate and sometimes scariest sports fans you'll ever see. While
They are
football
amazing,
hooliganism
yes.
is sometimes said to be a British thing, most infamous in the 70s and 80s, it is widespread across Europe. People literally die for the game or their team. In Eastern European countries, such as Poland, the Czech Republic, Turkey, or Croatia, you'll find supporters with units that look more like special forces. In Italy, Spain, and the UK, supporters at once cry over the beautiful game and then later vent their anger by tearing apart parts of cities. You will find this
That's
in other
not
parts
true
of the world,
anymore.
such as countries in South America, but let's say
That's not completely true. Yes, we have crazy fans in Europe, but we also don't like the ones that break stuff.
if your average Canadian got caught up in this, they might find it rather peculiar. If you were to come across some hooligans and made a run for it, you might find that you'd easily get lost. European cities are old and weren't designed using easy to navigate
No, of
systems.
course not.
You
They
could
were
say many cities in Asia
built-
are relatively new cities in terms of them being built up to modern standards, and most American cities were created in a
The European cities are very interesting because like they grew from little settlings and towns to like big cities, so that's why they aren't like built on a board with like straight roads and stuff and you easy access. They were like, okay, I'm settling here, I'm settling there, I'm settling over here near the river, and yet that's it. And that's why they all look so unplanned, and because they are.
a block system. Wandering through alleyways in Rome, following those country roads in the Scottish countryside, or navigating the cobblestone streets of Dubrovnik is one of the highlights of any trip. But before GPS came about, getting lost was assured. Let's say you are
Yes.
lost and you stop at a local bar for a drink. One of the great things about some places in Europe is the homey feel of some of these old establishments. They might open till very late, or people in some parts of Europe may not even go out until 11 p.m. In
Yeah,
more rural
depends
communities, you
on
might
where
still
you
find
live.
people driving after a few drinks, and in most parts of Europe, you won't be
that's
blasted
true.
with AC while having to endure sports on 6 TVs.
Yes, we have like no AC. Well, there are places who have AC and stuff, but we, at least where I'm from, we don't like AC because it's not good for the environment and it costs lots of energy. And when I'm in another country and I go to a shopping mall or some place with an AC, I often get sick, so I don't like that.
While you'll find American-style sports bars in Europe, one charming thing you'll still find is that the pub, the inn, the cafe will have a homely touch. You'll
Yes,
also
they
find
have.
in Europe that a lot of young people get away
Again,
with drinking.
because
The age limit law in many European countries may not so assiduously be enforced by pub owners or police. If you are American, you'll also find that police in most of Europe are not so much in your face as they are in the States.
That's
They
a
seem
good
to be a
thing,
nicer
yes.
breed of cop. If you are young and want to party, head to Europe. Ironically, laws are laxer and there is, for the most part, less crime.
Interesting. That fact was very interesting that we have less crime because our laws are not as tough as your guys. Interesting, yes. And yeah, I have heard of American cops being in your face like all the time. I think I never had a cop even like talk to me in my whole life, and I'm 40 years old now. And when I was young, back in the day, I was out at night partying quite often for some years. So no, I never encountered a cop being in my face or even like talking to me. Didn't ever occur to me that this is a thing in another country. Learn something.
You might need a drink to calm your nerves after you've experienced a day of watching nude people at
Yes,
the
we
beach.
have nude
Certainly
beaches,
in Spain
yes,
and France, you'll
because
find toplessness to be absolutely nothing out of the ordinary,
That's
and we are not
totally
talking about
normal
nudist
here.
beaches.
Sorry for pausing again. Nudist beaches are normal here too, and yes, there's nothing wrong with like being naked. That's how we were created, so I don't get the fuss. And if you don't want to see nude people, just don't go there. So like, who cares?
Go there a second time, and you'll just get used to it, and maybe
Yeah.
even throw caution to the wind and strip yourself. As
Yeah.
most of you are English speakers watching this, or can understand
Right,
English,
yeah.
we feel we must give you a word of warning if you visit the UK. That warning is, you might not understand people when they speak to you. You think you
Okay.
speak English and know what it sounds like, and then you find yourself asking someone in Liverpool where the Beatles Story Museum is. What you hear back sounds like a foreign language. Down a few pints of Guinness in Dublin and start to chat with a guy with a
Scottish,
very
yeah.
broad accent,
They
and
are-
you'll be equally confused. The
I actually like the Scottish accent, and I would say I understand it very well because I've lived 1 year in Ireland when I was younger, 24 years ago, or 25 years ago, something like that. And yeah, it was amazing, and that's why I still can understand the Irish accent and also the Scottish accent very well. I wouldn't say I understand like everything if the Scots speak. Nobody does, but I understand quite a lot of things.
accent can change from town to town, so even if you fully understand the Mancunian, that's someone from Manchester, you might have problems following someone's gist on the wonderful and wild moors of Yorkshire, and you've only driven for 45 minutes. It's actually fascinating to behold. We'll leave you with that and hope you can see the delights of Europe one day. If you've already visited Europe, let us know in the comments what you found strange. Also, be sure to check out our other video called Common Stereotypes About Americans. Thanks for
I
watching,
wanna
and
see
as
that.
always,
Thank you for watching. I learned something new here. So very interesting that you all think we are crazy because we are nude, and also that you find our drinking age is very low. I mean, yes, it's 16 here at least, but it's only beer, so I mean, it's it's not a big deal, and it actually teaches you to be a responsible person if you're allowed to, and most of the time you start to drink like with your parents at dinner or something, so you are taught to be responsible drinker and stuff. Of course, some people drink too much and like start to throw up and stuff and should stop, and they don't know when to stop. But that's in every country. But and if you start like at 21 or 20 or whatever the drinking age is in other countries, then you haven't had this like slow, responsible getting used to alcohol that we have. So then you're just going over the top and like binge drinking, which I think is weird. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.